There are moments in an NBA offseason when a single roster move looks small on paper, yet signals something far bigger brewing behind closed doors. The Boston Celtics just made one of those moves, and while at first glance it may seem like a simple transaction, the ripple effect could reshape how this team enters the next season. Norris, one of the standout performers from the Summer League, has been released. The official reason was to make room for a new signing, but in Boston, nothing of this magnitude happens without layers of strategy underneath. Norris' release came right before the official announcement that Boston had signed Boucher, the versatile big man who spent his recent years with the Toronto Raptors. This signing was not just about adding another rotation piece, it was about retooling the roster with a very precise vision. Boston had already pulled off a surprising sequence of moves earlier in the week, sending Georgia's Niang, who had only just arrived as part of the Kristaps Porzingis trade package, to the Utah Jazz. That trade also included 2 valuable second-round picks, with undrafted rookie R.J. Lewis Jr. coming to Boston. To the casual eye, it might seem like shuffling spare parts. To those who follow the Celtics chessboard closely, it looks like the front office is clearing specific paths for a bigger play. The Norris decision becomes even more intriguing when you consider his profile. After going undrafted in the 2023 NBA draft, he carved out his own path, starting with a 2-way contract in Atlanta, spending time overseas in Turkey with Kagdas Badrumspor, then returning stateside for a brief stint with Memphis before landing in Boston. His performance in the Summer League, averaging over 9 points, 4 rebounds, and showing flashes of reliable outside shooting, suggested a player still on an upward trajectory. Normally, teams keep these kinds of developing assets in their system. Boston didn't. That alone should spark questions about what is coming next. Boucher's arrival adds another layer. His skill set is unlike most bench bigs in the league, a long, mobile defender who can protect the rim and stretch the floor. But what stands out is the timing. Boston announced his signing only after clearing Norris' spot, suggesting that front office is operating with surgical precision in both cap management and roster flexibility. This wasn't a rushed decision. It was a deliberate restructuring. Some might wonder why the Celtics would move on from a promising young player just to secure a veteran rotation piece. The answer likely lies in the team's vision for the months ahead, with the salary cap landscape tightening and every dollar scrutinized. The front office is prioritizing players who can immediately contribute to a championship run. Norris, despite his potential, might not have been part of the immediate plan. Boucher, on the other hand, brings playoff-tested experience, length, and the ability to guard multiple positions, all traits that fit perfectly into the kind of deep postseason battles Boston expects to face. And yet, the most fascinating part may be what is still unspoken. The sequence of moves Niang out, Norris waved Boucher in, may not be the final chapter. The Celtics have been operating with an unusual level of agility this offseason, making trades and signings in a pattern that hints at a larger strategic buildup. There could be another addition, another high-impact move waiting for the right moment. Sometimes, clearing one roster spot is not about the player leaving, but about the player who is still to come. For fans, this is where the intrigue grows. Boston is not a team making random changes. Every move, every dollar spent or saved, has a purpose that aligns with their championship timeline. Front office knows exactly where this roster needs to be by April, not just October. And if history has taught us anything, it is that this organization thrives in moments when the rest of the league is still trying to piece together the puzzle. Norris' time in Boston may have been short, but his departure is a reminder that this franchise is relentlessly focused on winning now. In the weeks ahead, the real story may not be about who left, but about who is about to walk through the door. The Boston Celtics have just made a quiet but potentially pivotal move that could set off a chain reaction behind the scenes, one that might alter the construction of their roster in ways few expected this early in the offseason. The team has parted ways with forward Norris, a 6'10" prospect who had been on a 2-way deal and saw limited action in 3 games last season after a stint overseas in Turkey. On paper, it looks like a minor roster adjustment, but in the world of NBA roster management, small doors often lead to larger opportunities. And in this case, the open door might have a name already written on it. Sources close to the organization suggest that this decision could clear a direct path for rookie Amari Williams, the 6'10" center selected by Boston with the 46th pick in the 2025 draft. Williams is not under contract yet, and the Celtics currently have 2 of their 3 two-way spots filled by Max Shulga and newly acquired RJ Lewis. By releasing Norris, Boston has effectively unlocked the possibility of sliding Williams into that remaining two-way slot, an opening that could accelerate his integration into the system without forcing the team into deeper financial maneuvering. Williams' game is intriguing for reasons that go beyond his size. Coming out of Kentucky, he developed a reputation for his passing vision, a skill not often associated with big men entering the league. While his numbers in the Summer League, 6.3 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.8 assists in just 17.6 minutes per game, don't jump off the page. They hint at a player who can influence the game in subtle yet important ways. His ability to facilitate from the high post, draw defenders with his screens, and execute quick reads in traffic could provide Boston with a new layer of offensive versatility that might pay dividends in the long grind of the season. This move, particularly intriguing, is not just the potential of Williams himself, but the timing. Roster spots, especially two-way deals, are strategic chess pieces in a league where every inch of cap space and every drop of flexibility matters. The Celtics have been walking a fine line between preserving their championship-caliber core and exploring the edges of the roster for hidden gems. Bringing in a young player like Williams under a controlled, cost-effective structure allows them to keep their main rotation intact while experimenting with developmental upside. A competitive element here that could work in Boston's favor. Williams enters a locker room already loaded with high expectations, yet without the crushing pressure of having to be an immediate rotation savior. He can develop alongside established stars, learning the nuances of the Celtics' defensive schemes and offensive spacing while contributing in bursts when called upon. In an environment like this, the right rookie can flourish faster than anyone predicts, especially one whose game is built on reading the floor rather than just raw athletic dominance. In the broader context, this move fits a pattern that front offices around the league have been forced to adopt in the new era of the collective bargaining agreement. The financial penalties for going too far above the salary thresholds are harsher than ever, forcing contenders to balance veteran experience with youthful affordability. By shifting from Norris to Williams, Boston may have found a way to keep their margins strong without sacrificing potential upside, a maneuver that could look even smarter months from now if the rookie shows signs of becoming a rotation caliber big man. For Celtics fans, the name Amari Williams might not yet resonate like a household star, but that could change quickly. Boston has a history of identifying talent that other teams overlook. The combination of size, vision, and adaptability in Williams makes him an intriguing candidate to follow. If he does claim that final two-way spot, it will be more than just a paperwork update. It will be a calculated investment in a player who could end up making a real impact when it matters most. Celtics' pursuit of another banner is built on moments like this, where a seemingly small roster adjustment hides the possibility of something much bigger waiting to unfold. Celtics fan base has been holding its breath ever since Jayson Tatum's injury sent shockwaves through the playoffs. And now, for the first time in months, the whispers of a comeback feel louder than the echoes of doubt. The image of their franchise player being helped off the court in mid-May is still burned into the minds of those who watched. Yet recent developments suggest that what once seemed like an endless road to recovery might now be taking a decisive turn toward an unexpected and inspiring return. Tatum's Achilles tendon surgery, performed shortly after that fateful 12th of May, was never going to be just another injury story. Achilles ruptures have a reputation in sports for rewriting careers, but in Tatum's case, the narrative is starting to defy that grim history. In the past week alone, the Celtics star has been spotted in public not as a fragile figure cautiously testing his limits, but as a man moving with a freedom that almost dares the skeptics to reconsider their timelines. On Wednesday, his presence at the New England Patriots training camp sent ripples through both fan bases. Observers noted not just his attendance, but the way he moved. The way his steps lacked the stiffness that so often betrays hidden pain. Less than 24 hours later, Tatum was standing beside head coach Joe Mazzulla at the opening of a new early education center, once again looking more like the confident leader who carried Boston's offense than an athlete trapped in the purgatory of rehabilitation. What makes these moments even more intriguing is not simply that Tatum is walking without the protective boot he wore in the early stages, but the speed of his transition. Rich Gotham, the Celtics president, offered a rare public glimpse into the internal sentiment, noting how Tatum had gone from minimal foot movement to walking with ease in a remarkably short period. Gotham called it a series of small milestones. But in a recovery like this, small milestones can signal enormous breakthroughs. The Celtics have deliberately avoided making bold predictions about his return, and perhaps that is what makes the current optimism so potent. There is no official timetable, no public countdown, yet the signs are accumulating in plain sight for anyone willing to connect them. Each appearance is a piece of a puzzle the franchise is not yet ready to reveal, and that secrecy fuels the speculation behind the scenes. The question is not whether Tatum wants to come back before the season's end, but how far he is willing to push the limits of medical clearance to make it happen. Gotham himself acknowledged this without revealing specifics, emphasizing Tatum's relentless drive to give the organization a real decision to make. That choice, when it comes, would reshape the Celtics' trajectory in a way no trade or signing possibly could. There is an unspoken tension here, one that every Celtics supporter can feel. It is the balance between the desire to see their star take the floor again and the knowledge that rushing the process could risk everything. Yet Tatum's demeanor in these recent appearances sends a message without words, a message that hints at a player whose mind is already ahead of his body, and whose body might be catching up faster than expected. The financial stakes of his return are massive. In the modern NBA, where every playoff game can influence millions in revenue, sponsorship leverage, and roster planning, the potential of having Tatum back before next postseason is not just a boost, it is a seismic shift in competitive advantage. The Celtics front office knows this, the coaching staff knows this, and it is hard to imagine that the locker room is not quietly feeding off the possibility. The Achilles injury is often viewed as a thief of explosiveness, but Boston's confidence in Tatum's long-term dominance appears unshaken. His game has never relied solely on sheer athleticism. His footwork, timing, and ability to manipulate defenders with subtle changes in pace are tools that can survive the trauma his tendon endured. If his current progress holds, the version of Tatum who returns could be a player who has evolved. Even further, during his absence, no one inside the Celtics organization will say it outright, but the reality is clear. Every sighting of Jayson Tatum walking with ease is not just an update on an injury. It is a reminder that the franchise's ceiling remains tied to his health, and that the story of this season may still have a chapter that turns despair into redemption. The silence from official medical reports might be strategic, letting the anticipation build while keeping opponents in the dark. For fans, the weight is now charged with a sense of possibility, not the desperate hope of clinging to a fading dream, but the confident anticipation that their superstar is rewriting a recovery timeline most thought was fixed in stone. And if that confidence proves justified, the next time Jayson Tatum steps onto the parquet could be more than a return. It could be the spark that changes everything.